Hey, happy Monday. Thanks for joining me for the second installment of the Celebrating Self project. In just a second, I'll be getting into what celebrating self and self love mean to me. But before I do that, I do want to discuss some caveats regarding self love and self care. I think they're very important to touch on prior to discussing this because these might be things that we don't always consider when we have conversations about self love, self care. The first of which is that self love is very individual. So, what I perceive as self love and how I define that may differ from how you do, and that's totally fine. My real goal here today is to share some perspective with you and hopefully give you some tips and resources that maybe you haven't tried before, but that might really benefit you long term. Secondly, I want to discuss privilege because sometimes when we discuss self love, we think about bubble baths and face masks and mani pedis and taking the day off work for a mental health day, all of which are very valid activities to help you feel good about yourself and to help you recenter. And I partake in basically all of those. However, we have to recognize that if you're someone that has the ability to participate in those activities, you do have greater privilege than someone who absolutely cannot afford to take a day off of work, right? It's between a mental health day or putting food on the table. So recognize that you may have more privilege in these aspects and learn if there are any ways that you can pay it forward, if there are any ways that you can help even someone in your local network who may be struggling, if you can help them in any capacity, I think that's an awesome opportunity for all of us. And then on the other hand, if you're someone that feels that self-love and self-care is out of reach because you may be in a socioeconomic position that really doesn't make that feasible, I want to let you know that I hear you. And secondly, I will be providing some tips that are super low cost, that don't take a lot of time, that you can start implementing into your life to help you cultivate self love and to help you continue to be the best version of yourself and really dig deep and build these behaviors intrinsically. And then finally, I want to touch on body image because I know that there is a huge body positivity movement that has started a couple years ago, and that's fantastic. However, I believe that body image and how we show up in the world in our physical manifestation is only a very small subset of ourselves. And so I will not be focusing on that during my Celebrating Self project posts. To me, diet culture I know influences us to think that a lot of our value and love for ourselves needs to come from the exterior and how we appear and show up in the world that way. But it's not something that I want to focus on. I want to focus on something so much greater. I want to focus on your mind, your spirit, your soul, and your heart because we're talking about yourself and you're so much more complicated than just what you look like. So those are the three caveats I wanted to discuss. I am going to dive into what self-love and celebrating self means to me. The first of which is growth and evolution. And this is something that has become very important to me and a huge component of self love for me in the last few years because I've noticed from ages 20 to 24 or 21 to 24, which is only 3 short years, the person that I was then versus who I am now is totally different. And while, yes, the basic DNA is the same, I'm still extroverted, I'm still energetic, I'm still, passionate about fitness and health and wellness. There's a lot more, if you look more deeply, that has changed. The way that I navigate relationships, the way that I cope with frustration, fear, trauma is way different. So I celebrate that. I think that's a big deal, celebrating growth and evolution. And a way that I do that is I actually document this growth through journaling. And I think journaling is so beneficial for all of us because you have your thoughts in the moment documented forever. And you can always look back and see, where was I this time last year? And that's something that I do. I have a journal for every calendar year. And once in a while, I'll look back on, what did I write about a year ago? What did I write about 3 years ago? And I often find that there's so much hindsight and retrospect and peace knowing that, I made it through those experiences. All those experiences that I felt were so meaningful that I had to write about, I made it through them, right? Even the things that you think are going to break you and you think that you cannot get through and that this is truly the end for you, you will make it through. And it's so empowering to look back and be like, shit, that was a really hard time for me, but I'm so glad that I can now walk away without so much of the fear and the pain, but with strength and experience and now greater depth in terms of how I deal with things, more in my toolkit for dealing with stress or, frustration or fear. So this is a fantastic way to start digging deep and having documented patterns of growth and evolution within yourself. That's really, really exciting. So how I usually recommend people to start journaling: get yourself a cheap journal from the dollar store, right? If funds are an issue, get something cheap. All you need is a piece of paper and a pen. So whatever capacity you can make that work for yourself. If you want to start off small, you can just do some bullet points. So how you're feeling today, something that happened today, quick bullet points. Doesn't even have to be a lot. It could be one bullet point for the day. You could write, today I'm angry, or you could write sad. Whatever that is, that's still documentation, and you can still look back and see patterns of how you were feeling, experiences that made you upset or made you really happy, and it's all listed there. If you want to take it a little bit deeper, you can follow a prompt. So you can go online and follow any journal prompt that you find, on Google. Just Google journal prompts, and write about one that really means something to you. That's a really great way to get started. And if you want to level up a little bit more, you can designate a particular day in the week. For me, it's always Sundays, where you write about what's happened or what's meaningful to you the last week or so. And now you have all this data compiled there for you to really be able to see how you've grown in the last month or year or 2 years, etc. And it's really, really exciting. I think that journaling is such a safe space for all of us, because we're consistently impacted by our networks, right? Whether it's our family, whether it's our work or our relationships, we are impacted by that stuff. And journaling helps us in a really safe space discuss our networks and how they're affecting us, but not have to really, necessarily confront people if you're not quite ready for it. So I think it's just such a valuable tool where it's like a heart to heart with you, but it's a little bit more substantial because it's on paper and it's documented. The next thing that I wanted to discuss that is kind of related to what celebrating self means to me, what self-love means to me, is creating boundaries and being unapologetic about who I am. This is really important to me. If you know me, even if you knew me from first grade or you knew me in college, this is one thing that really has not changed. I'm a Leo. I'm very, very stubborn, and I'm very, very stubborn about my values in my personal mission statement. I have a personal mission statement, much like a business does. I have one for how I operate my life. You cannot fucking sway me to go outside of that or to break that within myself. It's very, very important to me, and I don't fucking budge. I'm unapologetic about the things that I think are important. I'm not going to be spending a single fucking second living to appease anyone else, ever. And I think that's a perspective that a lot of us need to start taking, because I know that some of us are in situations where we can't 100% be ourselves. Maybe we're in a really, challenging work environment, and that's very tough. Or maybe we live in a city where that's very tough. But if there's any component that you can start to show more, one part of yourself that you want people to start seeing more, I say show it. If you feel comfortable and safe, show it. Because yes, there might be some apprehension. Yes, some people might fall out of your life because you've changed. You've evolved, as we talked about earlier. But you will attract the people that are meant to be in your life. Like attracts like. So if you're not being your authentic self, you will not be attracting people that genuinely are on the same vibration as you. So learn as best as you can to be your unapologetic self and set boundaries, right? Set boundaries that are in alignment with your values. So 2 things that I want you to walk away with when it comes to this particular component of self-love is, 1, I want you to write a personal mission statement for yourself. So what are your values? What do you want to get out of your physical body experience? What do you want to get out of this life, right? We're here in this physical body for a very short amount of time. What do you want to get out of it? How do you want to operate in your time on earth? Write yourself a personal mission statement. And then secondly, to create boundaries, I challenge you this week to say no to something that you don't want to do. Now, granted, you have to go to fucking work, okay? You have to go to work and make that money. But if your friend invites you to something that you really don't want to go to and you don't find a lot of value in it, and it's the 5th time you've gone out in the last 2 weeks, say no, and don't feel bad about it. Don't fucking feel bad about it, because you know what? You're being your authentic self, and that is absolutely amazing, because you're being true and real with your friend, and you don't have to lie to them. You can just say, you know what? I have plans. You know what those plans are? They're just being one with yourself and being authentic with yourself and taking care of you. So don't be afraid to say no. So this week, write yourself a personal mission statement and say no to something. If there's something that comes up that you don't want to do, don't fucking do it, except for work. Go to work, please. And then finally, my last, what I consider self-love and what it means to me is taking care of ourselves, and not just in the traditional way, right? So not just in, I'm practicing self-care, so I'm gonna take a bubble bath, or I'm gonna Netflix and chill by myself. Not just in that way, though that is very valuable. I don't just mean that. I mean checking in with yourself, and this doesn't have to take a lot of time. This could be 1 minute where you space out for a moment if you're at work, or you just 1 minute the second you walk in through the door at home. You check in with yourself. How am I feeling? Is there anything that I want to, dig deeper into? Is there anything that happened today that maybe didn't sit right with me? Is there anything that happened today that was so amazing that I am, smiling from ear to ear? Check in with yourself. Check in with your intuition, your spirit, and your mind. And there's 2 ways that I want you to try to apply this to your life. The first of which is at the end of every day, right before you get to bed, I want you to, just with yourself, think about what was the absolute best part of your day, and what was a part of your day that you wish you could have improved. And you can start with the crappiest part, and you can end with the best part, whatever that means to you, but just discussing, the duality of the day, the best and the not so best parts of today, so that you're really being present in your life. And finally, I think a really important way to take care of ourselves, which is related to this checking in, is affirmations. I think affirmations are so important. So my challenge to you, to really develop some really great neural pathways in the brain and to build some really great thought processes in the brain to help you feel empowered, are to give yourself just even 1 affirmation in the morning. So when you're getting ready for work, you don't have to look in the mirror and get all intense about it. You can if you want, but maybe while you're getting dressed, you'd say 1 positive thing. You're your own cheerleader in this moment. So maybe that is, I am capable. Maybe for today, that is your mantra, I am capable. Or if you have a lot on your schedule, I am calm and I am collected. And if you have something really big coming up, it could be, I am eager for what I'm about to experience. I want you to start really using your words, your thoughts, all that power that resides there to shape your self-love, to shape how you operate in the world and how you show up in the world, and ultimately to attract the things that you deserve, because everything that you desire out of life, you can achieve. And my biggest quote that I always talk about and that I say to myself is create the life you desire. And with the things that I've discussed today in this video, I think if you implement even one of those things, you will be a little bit closer to achieving that. So I hope that this was helpful. Please comment below with ways that you practice self-love and what self-love means to you. I'm very curious to see the differing perspectives and the things that people prioritize, because I'm sure they're going to be different than, what I've discussed. As always, this project is a 3-part project between myself, Hannah, and Taylor. I will be tagging them below. Go ahead and follow them because they have their content that they're sharing as well. But until the next post, have a wonderful Monday, and we will talk soon. Later. Bye.